There are a number of factors that contributed to India's defeat in the 1962 war. One of the most significant factors was the mistakes made by the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru had a number of misconceptions about China, which led him to make a number of poor decisions. One of Nehru's biggest misconceptions was that China was a peaceful country. He believed that China wouldn't attack India because of their shared commitment to peace. This misconception led Nehru to neglect India's military preparedness. Nehru also made a number of tactical mistakes during the war. One of his biggest mistakes was to divide the Indian army into two separate groups. This made it difficult for the Indian army to coordinate its defenses. Another mistake that Nehru made was to fail to use the Indian Air Force effectively. The War of 1962 was a major setback for India. The Sino-Indian War of 1962 had its roots in a number of long-standing disputes between the two countries. One of the most important disputes was the border between India and China in the Himalayas. The two countries had different interpretations of the border, and there were a number of border clashes in the years leading up to the war. Another important cause of the war was the growing rivalry between India and China. Both countries were vying for regional dominance. The Sino-Indian War of 1962 began on October 20, 1962, when China launched a surprise attack on Indian positions in the Himalayas. The Chinese army was much larger and better equipped than the Indian army, and they quickly overwhelmed the Indian forces. The Chinese army advanced rapidly into Indian territory. The Indian army was forced to retreat, and the Indian government was on the verge of collapse. On November 20, 1962, China declared a ceasefire and withdrew its forces from the Indian territory. However, China retained control of a large portion of territory that it had captured during the war. The China-India War was a humiliating defeat for India. The Indian army was badly mauled, and the Indian government was forced to cede territory to China. The war also had a significant impact on India's domestic politics. The Indian government was criticized for its poor handling of the war, and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was forced to resign in 1964. The war led to a loss of life on both sides and damaged relations between the two countries. The war also had a significant impact on India's domestic politics and its strategic thinking, and it caused India to invest heavily in its military and develop a closer relationship with the Soviet Union. The Sino-Indian War of 1962 is a reminder of the dangers of conflict between the nuclear-armed powers. It is also a reminder of the importance of diplomacy and dialogue in resolving disputes. So guys, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up, and share this video with your friends and family members.